Hey guys, we are in Miami. We just finished earlier today with the Claremont, Florida Challenge, or the Florida Challenge in Claremont, Florida. And we drove to Miami to do our second race. We got that race in the morning. We got to get a few hours of sleep, but before we get a few hours of sleep, wanted to go over a few things about Claremont that we experienced while we were there, and then we'll do race reviews on other races too.
So this is our first review of Claremont.
Alright, I'm going to take transition and the bike, so I'll do transition first. Sam's going to do the swim and the run. And so as far as transition and check-in, when you checked in, it was really easy, no line, and a couple of different, the staff was super attentive. One gentleman, neither one of us had our current USAT card, so a gentleman showed us how to download the USAT app and get the card to come up on the app, so that was nice. Also, you got to choose a gift, so they gave you a swag bag or whatever, and then as you left, they had a table of stuff that you could choose. I think each of us got a glass, but there were other things on there, bags, and what was the other things that were on?
It was like a dry bag too.
Dry bag, okay. Super easy as far as check-in. They were super well organized. The staff was real attentive. Transition, it was a typical triathlon transition with the metal racks for your bikes. That was pretty easy too. They had people checking you in and checking you out, making sure that your numbers matched on your bikes when you left. So that was it was a good experience as far as check-in and transition for this race. You could tell they've done this before. Everyone was experienced and super helpful.
So for the swim, it was a one loop course out across the triangle and then back in. So minimal turns, beach entry. So actually have sand on that beach. That part is all great. The water is very dark, but no problems. They did a staggered COVID start, so you were staying distance. Ironman does the trash cans at the right before you jump in the water, so you can wear your mask the whole time. They didn't have that part, but overall great swim, fantastic, no problems.
Fun fact, one thing that I learned, when you are doing an early season, so this race is in March, so it's really early and people probably haven't done very many races. When you're doing an early season swim, do not sight off of other people, because likely you're both going in the wrong direction. I found myself going in the wrong direction a couple of times. For the bike, this was a hilly bike. You think of Florida and you think of flat roads, and that is not what this race was. So if you're looking for a bike that has hills and it's in Florida, this is the one. There were a number of rolling hills that weren't too bad, but there were 3 hills in particular that I can think of that were steep, and the reason I know they were steep is because on each of the 3 hills I saw somebody walking their bike up the top. So it was, I mean, they were steep. Make sure your bike's set up or either your bike's set up correctly or you have the leg strength to be able to get up steep hills. But overall, the bike itself was really good. The police presence, as far as the number of policemen on the bike, might be the most that I've ever seen. And they were all super helpful, super friendly, making sure cars stayed away from us. It was an open course, so there were cars on the road, and it is Florida, so there are a number of drivers that don't care to have bikers on the roads. So that part was kind of tough, but you expect that really in any race. The one big downside on the bike was very late in the race, after mile 50, probably mile 52, 53, there was a super steep downhill, might be one of the steepest downhills I've ever been on in a bike, and kind of reminded me of like a San Francisco type road, that kind of steep. And it had a ton of loose, small gravel. I like to go fast, and if there's a steep hill, then I like to just ride it as fast as I can. even if it's not a steep hill, I really do not try to use my brakes. For whatever reason in my head, I just think that takes efficiency out of the bike ride. This one, I used my brakes and I still felt unsafe. It was gonna be bad if somebody fell. I didn't see anybody fall while I was there, but it was pretty loose, and that I don't know how you can change that. I mean, you'd have to. I don't even think you could go out there with blowers and fix it. There was that much loose gravel out there. I think you just have to change the race course to be able to not be on that road, and I don't even know if that's possible. But that's something to be aware of late in the race. If your legs are tired, make sure your mind is sharp, because you don't want to have a mental error on that road.
The hills that I recall were right around mile 10, and that's the one that's at the end too. Mile 20, and then right around mile 44 was coming up. The mile 20 and 44 are both coming up the second tallest mountain in the state, which, you know.
It's Florida. I think they said the elevation was 325 feet, but that's Florida.
So the run was a double loop, out and back, two ways. So you pass the center. It made for a good fan. So if you brought somebody with you, they get to see you a fair amount. It has some spots that are shady, but I'm going to say it's 90% open sun, and it was 83 today and felt like it. Hot, sunny. So prep for that. It was a nice flat course. There was only one minor hill, and so you did that twice, and it was insignificant. Everything else is out back around the lake, so it was great. It is an open run course, so we doing the half 70.3. You had everybody finishing the Olympic and the sprint coming back to where the cars in the parking were. You had, all of the native Clermontians using their park. And so I got tangled in traffic a couple of times and yelled at some people. My apologies, Claremont. But yeah, overall, good run, well supported. There was about every 2 miles or so there was an aid station, and everybody was friendly. The aid stations for the run had they had little bottles of water, Coke, bananas, Chewy granola bars, and maybe a couple of other little things that I tried. Gatorade. Gatorade was the official drink of the race.
A couple of things that I would bring up. They were, and I forgot to mention this on the bike, but for all of the aid stations, you picked up your own stuff. Even on the bike, you had to stop, or if you were talented enough to be able to reach over and grab something off the table, you could do that. But they were not doing handoffs as far as handing you stuff. Some of the run stations, they would hand you waters, but most of them it was the stuff was on the table and you ran by and that's what you got.
So, in all of our reviews, we're going to do 3 things we loved about the race and 3 things we hated. Why don't I start with number 3? For the third thing that I hated, number 3 on hated list, was the open run course. Having to dip, duck, dodge, dive around people, bikers. They were certainly friendly, but it was crowded on the run course. But one of the number 3 thing that we loved was the bike. Is a great, tough, early season bike. Lots of hills, especially for Florida. But the run was nice and flat, so it wasn't just a killer course. It was well thought out, well planned, and a fun experience. So the course was number 3 thing that we loved.
Number 2 for the hated was there was not enough signage for the bike. They had a fair amount of tape on the road, green tape that you could follow, but this isn't a huge race. There were maybe a few hundred people in this race doing the long course. The Intimidator is what they call it, but it's the half middle distance or 70.3 distance race. And so I found myself alone a lot on the bike. And so you don't really have that person in front of you to follow, so you need to follow the signage. And there wasn't always great signage on the bike. I did end up going the wrong direction one time because I followed somebody who went the wrong direction. We didn't go too far off course, but we did go off course one time. So it'd be better to have a little more signage on the bike. The police presence on the bike, like I said earlier, it might be the best I've ever seen. It was that there was lots of police. In fact, a local even stated to me that he loves to come out on the bike course or come out and do a bike ride on this day every year because of the amount of police presence, and it's just a better experience for him. He wasn't even in the race, but that's what he does, is he rides his bike on this day every year because he loves the police presence.
Absolutely. This the police compared favorably with Ironman. I'd put it on that level. That's a race that's twice or three times as expensive. Number one, the worst thing about this race for us was absolutely that North Ridge Road. The steep hill with the gravel. I did the exact same thing. I hit 44 was my max speed on this course, and coming down that hill I slowed it down to 20. It just needs to be paved. Maybe rerouting around it in the interim would be something to be considered. But yes, that was absolutely the worst part of the whole race for us. But the number one greatest thing about this race was the staff was unbelievably professional. They were responsive to anything we needed. They were running around getting waters, making sure all of the aid stations were stocked, especially on a hot day. Normally, we're not early finishers, and so they're generally out of stuff when we're coming around, especially ice. Ice was never a problem. Cold drinks was never a problem. They did an amazing job. The check-in was fantastic. So kudos to the staff. It was absolutely, I would put it on par or better than Ironman. And once again, that's probably the gold standard for us. So absolutely fantastic experience from that. So
really want to thank Mr. Summers and Michelle. Mr. Summers, the race director, Michelle, the assistant race director. Both of them very good. Knew who we were when we checked in. Was nice enough to take pictures with us afterwards. So really want to thank them for that too.
Fantastic. So for the final, we'd like to give a grade. So we've got 5 categories to grade from. We're going to grade the swim course / water quality, bike, the course and the road quality, the run, aid stations, the medal and t-shirt, and the value of the race. And we're going to give a total bananas. So out of 7 bananas, what would you rank the swim course?
So I think it's a 5 for me for the swim course. There were a couple of things that could have been different, I suppose. There were a number of red or orange triangles, which typically signify a turn, and they were turns. This swim course was set up for a sprint, an Olympic, and a 70.3. So there were a number of turn buoys that you didn't turn at, and if you were doing the 70.3. So that was kind of hard to sight that way. Some of the swim caps too were orange, and which matched a number of the buoys that were like the in-between buoys. So that was kind of hard to do. But overall, I mean, the water was good. I didn't feel much of a current, if any. No waves, that type thing. So overall, it was very good. I give it 5 out of 7.
I'm on a 5 banana for that one. The bike course and road quality. I'm going to give that one about a 4. Most of it was fantastic, great roads. The course I loved a lot. That one road, and it's at the end of the bike, so it just scared me. So I'm a 4 banana on that one.
I can buy a 4 banana on that. You know, probably the worst roads I've ever been on were the ones we did in South Africa. I mean, because they were just awful. These roads, there were a number of newly paved roads that we were on. There were some that had rough gravel, and then there was that one that had the really bad gravel. So probably without that one bad gravel road, it would be a much higher rating. But I'll give it a 4. I agree with you there.
Fair enough. Well, tell me about the run.
So the run, if we're doing out of 7, I'll give that a 5. It was the course itself was set up really nice. It was marked pretty well. I don't think you really could have gotten off course. It was just kind of a out and back type thing. The open run course, I haven't experienced that very much at all on pretty much any race. Maybe in a few sprints or something. I don't know. I can't remember a time where there's been an open run course. I'm not sure they could even change that because, I mean, it's a public park and you'd basically be kicking the public out of their park for most of a beautiful Saturday, and they're just not going to do that. That's what I would give.
Fair enough. I'm with you on the 5. I'm going to go. Certainly, you lose points for the open, but the well-supported course, well-thought-out course. You're running along the lake, and of course, you got the wind off of the lake, which was fantastic. It really helped with the heat. I'm with solid 5 bananas.
Okay.
So the medal / t-shirts. I'm wearing the medal. The medal is it's not bad. It's got a little toothies this year, like a bike gear. So that's a little je ne sais quoi. The t-shirts they actually gave us 2. So that was bonus t-shirt, which is kind of cool. They are both regular cotton, and so I'm gonna take 1 banana away for that for a solid 6 on this. The 2 t-shirts is awesome, but I'd really just rather have 1 dry fit. I use them to run, and I just don't need cotton shirts, but that's a personal thing. So overall, I'm gonna say 6 bananas.
I can buy that. I mean, the metal it's a good weight. It doesn't feel cheap. The ribbon is a good, wide ribbon, nicely made. It's engraved or whatever with painting inside the engraving. Nice design. I like the metal. The t-shirts. So it's kind of cool. You got a t-shirt just for checking in. So that was everybody got a t-shirt, I guess, for checking in. And then you got a finisher shirt. This is the finisher shirt. It has a on the front, like near the pocket, it has printing, and then on the back, it has the logo and stuff like that. So you got a reward for finishing the race. So that was nice. So yeah, I can buy that.
Fair enough. All right. So what's your value for this race?
7. I mean, you're not going to get a better value. I mean, you might get a better value, but for the price that we paid and the stuff that we got and the race itself, it's a 7.
I talked to a few people that they use this as kind of a tool up, spin up race to see where they were. So if you think about, this is a great low cost race. I'm going to couch that in terms of half Ironman. So in terms of 70.3 races, this is on the cheap end of the spectrum. Great training race if this is not your A race. It's not likely somewhere that you're going to get your PR, but it's a fantastic, what do I need to work on, where are we, early season race. So yeah, the value is absolutely a solid 7. So you tell me what your total here is out of 7 bananas.
Total value, I'm going to give it, out of 7, total value or total overall for the race?
Your overall for the race.
For the race.
Yeah, this is your recommendation for the race to everybody.
I'm going to give it a 5.5 to 6. I'd highly recommend the race. Maybe I should just give it a 6. I'd highly recommend the race. It is one that you could definitely do.
I'm with you. I'm a 6 too. Absolutely. I highly recommend this race. Do this race. This is a good one. Local races are not held to the same standard as challenge races or Ironman races or those kinds of things. And this is on par with all of them. So absolutely, highly recommend this race. 6 bananas.
All right, we'll see you next time. We're going to do Challenge Miami tomorrow, and we'll do a race review after that.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.